Yo, it's your homeboy Kirosagi in the building. Welcome to part 2 and 3 of my Aokiji vs. Akainu series. This celebrates my 50th and upcoming 60th episodes of my One Piece discussion series. Before I start, I'd like to make a few things clear. Number one, I do not own any rights to any of these characters. No copyright infringement or disrespect is intended. Number two, this video contains potential spoilers. Number three, pardon any background noise you might hear. And finally, this is not an AMV. Now that we've gotten all of that stuff out of the way, let's begin. In part one, we went over the Universal Admiral abilities, which are Combat Experience, Observation Haki, Armament Haki, Super Strength, and Devil Fruit Mastery. Go check out part one for a full explanation and breakdown. So here you should see the agenda or table of contents of what we're going to talk about in this video. So we're going to talk about Akainu's established attributes, sorry. Afterwards, we talk about Akainu's established Devil Fruit abilities. Then we do the same thing for Aokiji. Next, we talk about established individual abilities for both admirals, possible individual abilities for both admirals, mutual unlisted techniques, potential Akainu attacks, potential Aokiji attacks, and finally, we talk about what happened on Punk Hazard. Let's go. Please bear in mind, or please note that both Akainu and Aokiji have a lot of stamina since they fought each other for 10 days in a row. We're going to start with Akainu's established attributes, and his first attribute is his mysterious ability to ignore armament haki users of a certain caliber, as shown when he was attacked by Marco and Vista, who are not slouches at all. Only the Yonko really touched Akainu at Marineford. Now, this might have had something to do with pirates being around him, and his hate for pirates might have stepped his willpower game up, or this might simply just be his natural armament haki or willpower being on another level. Next, we have the second attribute, which is his tenacity. And this again goes together with the whole theme of willpower. Not only did he survive 2 point blank earthquakes from an angry Whitebeard, but he continued fighting as if nothing happened. He almost forgot. It's almost like he forgot that he ate those 2 attacks, you know? It's ridiculous. Next, we have Akainu's established Devil Fruit abilities. We have number 1, Daifunka, Great Eruption. This attack is similar to Luffy's Gigant's Pistol and was able to evaporate an iceberg. Number 2 is Ryusei Kazan, and this is Meteor Volcano. Akainu rapidly fires Daifunkas into the air and they rain down. So it's a sort of a cross between, or pardon the background noise in case you heard. I'll just wait for like 2 seconds. Okay, here we go. So it's like a cross between a meteor shower and a volcano eruption, hence the name. Now these magma fists destroyed the areas of Aokiji's ice floor when they landed, as well as turned the icy cold water into boiling water almost instantly. So this attack is nothing to be slept on. Next we have Inugami Guren, and this means Hound Blaze. Just a brief note concerning the translations I've used. I'm using the translations from the anime sub because I have this feeling that it's more accurate than just the random weekly manga subs. I think it's a bit more official and more accurate. So I'm using the anime subs for some of these names. Some are like they don't change, but the ones concerning like hounds, they change a bit. So Inugami Guren Hound Blaze is the what do you call it, the translation from the anime. And basically it kind of makes a wave of magma in the shape of a dog and launches it against its opponent. Now it has a lot of destructive power as shown when Whitebeard deflected it. Next we have number 4, which is Meigo, and the translation for this is Hellhound. Akainu's arm transforms into pure magma, and but it still has a hand shape, and he uses it for thrusting claw attacks. This is censored in the anime by replacing the claw attack with a punch instead. Next we have Aokiji. Aokiji's established attributes. By now you should know that Aokiji is a detective and he has shown feats of immense intelligence. For more information on Detective Aokiji, check out part 3 of my Kizaru Code series. His intelligence feats include meeting Nico Robin ahead of CP9, as well as finding out about Doflamingo and Blackbird's secret operations ahead of the Marines and the new CP9. Aokiji's established Devil Fruit abilities. We have Ice Age, which is a large radial attack where Aokiji instantly freezes anything solid or liquid within an area. We have Ice Saber, where Aokiji uses his icy breath to turn blades of grass into a sword. In Marineford, there was obviously no grass, so he would have used something else, but he did use the technique at Marineford. Ice Time. Aokiji turns a person into an ice statue by touching them. Ice Block. Partisan. Aokiji makes ice spears. Ice Block Pheasant Beck. Aokiji makes this like huge bird out of like ice, and that's like probably his coolest looking attack. So it's similar to the Inugami Gurin from Akainu, where he makes a hound from lava. Aokiji has this ice block pheasant back where he makes like a flying bird out of ice. Now we have Ice Time Capsule, which is basically a projectile version of Ice Time. Aokiji sends a wave of ice of ice along the ground that freezes whatever it touches. It doesn't keep on going forever. Like when it touched Jagodi's soul, that's pretty much where it stopped, and it started freezing him instead of just going on forever. So um, that's pretty much how it works based on what we've seen, because that's like the only time we've seen him use that technique. But it's still pretty useful to have a mobile version of Ice Time. Ice Ball. This attack is very powerful. Aokiji freezes everything within a spherical area, including the air itself. So it's a really powerful technique because most of his ice techniques don't freeze the actual air. They just tend to freeze. I mean, they freeze a bit of the air, but not much. This attack freezes everything within a spherical area. Like, it's pretty strong. Um, yeah. Next we have the established individual abilities. We pretty much already covered these, and that's like intellect for Aokiji, superior haki slash haki negation for Akainu, durability slash endurance for Akainu, and we have possible individual abilities. Now this is where it gets a bit interesting. So swordsmanship for Aokiji, since he uses his ice saber attack, he must have confidence, a bit of confidence with his swordsmanship. Otherwise, it's not that useful. Um, he used it both at Marineford and when he first met the Straw Hats. So the fact that he used it in a scenario like Marineford, he probably has a good sense of swordsmanship. We have Rokushiki for Aokiji. This is a big maybe, but it's basically, given his intellect, it's not out of the question for him to learn Rokushiki. But then again, he's such a lazy character that he probably didn't have the time or bother to learn it. So it's a 50-50 thing. King's Haki for Akainu. Now, I don't think he had King's Haki when he fought Aokiji. He might have unlocked it like on the last day or afterwards or during the final clash, but it's definitely something I can see Akainu having at some point in the story. He might not have it now, in fact, but I definitely see him having it by the time he fights Luffy. Bear in mind, people unlock King's Haki at different like times of their lives. Like Luffy unlocked at a very surprisingly early age, so we don't really know the general age for unlocking King's Haki. Next, we have mutual unlisted techniques. We have walls, armor, mobility, and beams. Walls, pretty self-explanatory. You make a wall out of magma or ice. Armor is sort of like how Iceman can make ice armor. Similar concept, and Akainu can probably do a similar thing with magma as well. Now we have transportation, which is pretty interesting. So basically with Aokiji, he can do, well, he might be able to do a sort of Iceman type of sliding thing. So that depends on whether Oda wants to risk the sort of copyright thing or whatever. So I don't know, that's kind of a maybe, but Akainu has been shown to use his magma to augment his transportation at Marineford. For example, when he was chasing down Jinbei and Luffy. Beams. Now we haven't seen Aokiji do any ice beams. He has done ice capsule. That's not really a beam, but Akainu has done something that really resembles a beam, and that was when he attacked both Jinbei and Luffy at Marineford. Potential Akainu attacks. Swimming. This sounds ridiculous, but it has potential. Basically, he can swim through his magma because it is like a liquid. Aokiji can't really swim through ice because ice is solid, so he doesn't have that luxury. Now, I don't know whether he can still move through ice for some weird reason, but I don't really see it happening. But it's not impossible. Tunnels slash plumbing. Now, again, it doesn't sound as cool, but it has a lot of potential on the battlefield. So basically, Akainu can use his magma to sort of bore holes underground, and so he can set like magma traps. So he can make magma under just beneath the surface of the earth. So when you like stand on an area, you sink into the magma and you get burnt. Or he can just go for volcanoes, because I don't think Oda would go that far in terms of intellectual combat and stuff. One Piece doesn't really push that too much, or too often rather. So he might just go with a simple volcanoes instead. So he's gonna like put some magma underground and just channel it until it reaches the location he wants and make it just sprout upwards. So it forms a sort of mini volcano. Next we have smoke screens. Pardon background noise in case you hear it. But yeah, smoke screens, he's actually shown this already, and this was against Whitebeard. I'm not sure whether this was deliberate, but it might have been a deliberate attack. Even if it isn't deliberate, he has shown smoke on more than one occasion, like the ability to emit smoke at will. So smoke screens could be part of Akainu's arsenal. Potential Aokiji attacks. We have absolute zero. This is probably going to be his strongest attack, which freezes anything and it's pretty much instant death for most characters. Anything tangible, solid, liquid, or gas, it's a wrap. You're gonna die. In absolute zero, his most powerful technique. Ice wings slash flight. This is a very big if, but he is the blue pheasant, and there's this one character in a different series called Bleach, and he has ice wings too. So it depends on whether Oda really wants to push this whole blue pheasant thing to the maximum. Then he could give him ice wings, similar to this character from Bleach, and therefore Aokiji would have flight. Ice shurikens. Well, it's just basically a typical, stereotypical ice projectile. But the reason why I chose shurikens is because we have the whole snowflake shape, which goes with the whole icy theme. Now we have ice refraction. This is a very interesting technique. So basically, he can make maybe illusions, mirages, or just blind you straight up with light. Assuming there's like sunlight, he can just make the ice and use his intelligence in such a manner that he can, do some scientific optical techniques against you. Instant construction. This is pretty much straightforward, like something you would expect. So unlike magma, which takes time to cool down and harden, Aokiji's ice is solid pretty much instantly. So that is one advantage he has in his matchup against Akainu. Whilst Akainu has the whole thing that he does in fact have liquid techniques. So he has the advantages that liquids have, whilst Aokiji has the advantages that solids have. So instant construction, he can make almost any physical object instantly, which is pretty useful. He can make stairs, weapons, whatever he needs, almost instantly. Next, finally, we have what happens, or what happened on Punk Hazard. What happened on Punk Hazard? I'll share and explain my theory and interpretation of what went down on Punk Hazard. Bear in mind that this is purely theoretical, so feel free to respectfully disagree with what I'm saying. Even though this was a serious fight and they intended on defeating each other, it is most likely that it wasn't a death match, at least for the first 9 days. So let me explain. In a death match, you go all out, and it is impossible to go 100% even for a day, even by One Piece standards. A perfect example is Luffy going all out at Marineford and requiring Ivankov's assistance multiple times. Even with Ivankov's assistance, he still couldn't. He still ran out of energy at some point, and this resulted in his brother Ace dying. Even if you manage to go 100% for a day, you would need more than a day to regain the energy you spent or to recuperate from whatever condition you are physically. So the way I see it, they did not fight for 24 hours, and they most likely didn't fight at 100%. Rather, they would have had a sort of Dory and Broggy situation where they would duel for a majority of the day and call it a stalemate at some point. Then they would resume the fights the following day. I also think there was a lot of dialogue. We know for a fact that Akainu did not kill Aokiji despite having the chance, and I assume that the generally merciful Aokiji had no bloodlust either. Again, this does not paint the picture of a stereotypical deathmatch. On the 10th day, they were drained mentally and physically, and each side gave up on trying to convince their longtime comrade. So both sides then decided to go all out for the first time, and they used the ultimate techniques, and Akainu turned out victorious. Pardon the background noise. So in summary, this was a longer version of the Ace vs Blackbeard fight with a similar climax and some Dory slash Broggy parameters before the final day and the final clash and the climax. So that's pretty much it from Akainu versus Aokiji special. I apologize to those of you who waited so patiently for this video, and that's why I decided to combine both part 2 and 3 so that you won't have to wait again for the next part, because a bunch of things happened and that's why I couldn't get to this video any sooner. But yeah, that's pretty much it for this video. Check out my Kizaru code if you like this special. That's pretty much the only other special I've done. Like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. And as always, thank you guys for watching.